Black people, are you guys listening? You aren't African Americans. A white dude is. Are you guys curious yet? Because today I ask you, has anybody ever noticed how everyone's oppressed these days? And they're oppressed for the wrong reasons. No one's accountable. No one's responsible. Just oppressed. It's like become the new currency. It's become the new occupation. It's the new currency of weakness is what it is. And when success walks into the room, they don't see hard work. They see privilege, that word we hear so much. That's the excuse they sell to themselves so they don't have to try. Today, I'm going to expose who has the real privilege in this country. Welcome, my friends, to another episode of Facts Me, the place where we educate, not fabricate. I'm Stephen Lancaster, and today, I promise you, is going to be an eye-opener. And I'm not doing this to piss people off. I don't want you to think that. I am simply providing factual information. For today, we are exposing who is really privileged in this country and begin a course correction, I hope, on reality. But I do want to take a moment before the jokes start flying because, let's face facts, I would probably do the same thing. These are not because I'm too cool for school. Okay, I have an eye situation where I'm very light sensitive and I am constantly under lighting for the bulk of my day. And that lighting and that sensitivity causes headaches and migraines so bad, sometimes they put me to the floor. Okay. And sometimes they make me nauseous. So I got with my optometrist and this was the solution. They are not sunglasses. They are prescription glasses to keep me from hitting the ground in pain. So with that being said, maybe I am a little bit too cool for school, but it's doctor prescribed. So today, guys, I am going to expose the real privilege in the United States. I'm going to anger some. It's going to open the eyes of others, and I hope and pray you can differentiate between fact and personal feelings. Because here at Facts Me, if I'm giving an opinion or a personal feeling on something, I will certainly say so. But here I'm speaking in absolutes. So I'm giving you facts. What I'm saying shouldn't make you upset with me. It should make you upset with the fact, right? It's the truth. So don't be upset with me for being the guy that's actually willing to tell you the truth. So today, because everything I'm about to drop is nothing but the truth, and the truth can't be racist, guys. Words are incapable of that. So I am only repeating what is absolute. Okay, guys? So let's just put that out on the table right now. This is not a racial episode. And before I hit the end of the show, think about my opening statement. Black people are not African Americans. A white dude is. And this is going to blow your mind because I don't think a lot of people think about it like this. But, we'll get to that in a little bit. But we need to start moving forward in this country, guys, with real unity. Real unity, not the pretend unity the puppet masters of the Democratic Party, the liberals, and the left are constantly trying to brainwash you with. Because they brainwashed an entire generation, Gen Z, to hold nothing accountable and blame everything that is good for their faults. Today we are going to look at the facts and determine who in America is truly privileged by definition. By definition, the reality. Who is really being oppressed and why. And I hope by the end of this episode we are one step closer to understanding each other better and another step closer to accepting reality and each other. This isn't a meme. This isn't some AI video. This is reality. But in order to have this discussion, what is privilege? What do you think it is? Because we need to define that first. Privilege is a term that's used to describe unearned advantages or benefits that a person has in society based on aspects of their identity, such as race, gender, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, ability, and other factors. And I'm going to say it again, so we are on the same page. Privilege is a term used to describe unearned advantages or benefits that a person has in a society based on aspects of their identity, such as race, gender, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, ability, and of course other factors. So, here are the numbers, my factivists. And numbers don't lie, just like facts. Let's talk about SNAP, Medicaid, housing assistance, unemployment assistance. Let's look at the percentages here. When we're looking at, let's say, black people, 32% of SNAP is black people. 42% of Medicaid is black people. The LGBTQ plus OU812, whatever the group's called now, 26% of them are on SNAP, 25% Medicaid. And then it goes on down the line, Hispanic, 22%, 40%, to finally hitting white people at 12%. Okay, and then the Asians, the people who work harder than anybody, they're only at 3% of milking federal government assistance. Black communities consistently have the highest per capita participation across almost every major assistance program. And I've been showing you these numbers on the screen, the graphs. It's a little bit easier to digest visually. The LGBTQ C3POs or whatever they are, communities, they always come in second. So you've got the black community and the gay community. They are the ones benefiting from federal assistance more than any other community or race or sexuality in this country. And this data comes from the U.S. Department of Labor, the U.S. Department of Housing, Urban Development, the U.S. Census Bureau, Pew Research Center, USDA Economic Research. So it's legit. Now, net worth. Which race has more money? Because we're always hearing, oh, the billionaires, they shouldn't have that much money. Why not? They earned it. It's theirs. Why do you think you can just take it from them? It's the most ridiculous thing. Every time I see something like that, man, I just want to smack myself. On average in this country, white people average about $285,000 a year. The gay community, about $80,000. The Hispanic community, $61,000. And the black community come in at around $44,000. The Asian Americans, $536,000 a year. So by a long shot, more than double of white people, Asian people are banking more per year in this country. Now let me ask you an honest question. When is the last time you have seen anybody, anywhere, here YouTube, social media, TikTok, whatever, complain about Asian people? I'll wait. Where are people saying Asian privilege? They make more than any of us. But you're attacking white people who make half of what Asian people do. So again, I'm going to ask, when is the last time you saw anybody attack the Asian community? And it's not because everybody's fucking afraid they're going to be kung fu fighting or anything. Just ask yourself that question, because it's a valid point. Why aren't you screaming Asian privilege? And I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I think it's because you're afraid you'd be called racist. But why isn't it racist when you call me out? Why isn't it racist when you yell white privilege? Racist is a two-way street, my friends. Black people, Hispanics, gays, every other community in the world experiences some form of prejudice. Just because we're white doesn't mean we're exempt from that. So without factual information, guys, the constant outcries against white people and white privilege, which does not exist, truly makes those people who keep repeating it look racist, that they're just racist, doesn't it? Because there's no facts at all to back up what they're saying. So I'm just left to believe you're a fucking racist. You ever hear of a bad Asian role model? Name one. Without doing any research, name one. I'll wait. But I bet you can sit there right now and go down the line of your people who represent you poorly, from lying, cheating to self-serving, Kamala Harris, Jasmine Crockett, the Kmart of politics, Hakeem Jeffries, that psycho Joy Reid, and the list goes on and on. These people represent you. Are you okay with that? And don't get me wrong, white people, we have our plenty of embarrassments. Plenty. Joe Biden, Bill and Hillary Clinton are as evil as it comes. Gavin Newsom, the cheesy-ass car salesman. And of course, Taylor Swift. And God knows so many others. We are just as ashamed of the people who represent the white community as I'm sure you guys are in the black or gay community. But back to the Asians. Why are Asians not a part of the outcry for illegal immigrants? Do you want to know why? Because they came here legally. It's a simple concept, kids. Don't break the fucking law. They came here, they joined our society, they worked harder than any of us, and are now the highest earning racial group in this country. Good for them, man. This is what happens when you obey the law. The rest of you who aren't are on government assistance. So here we have two main communities, always crying foul. Always. The black community and the gay community. These numbers reveal that both communities are handed more benefits than any other race in our country. Now, who exactly is privileged here? Remember, privilege is a term used to describe unearned advantages or benefits that a person has in society based on aspects of their identity, race, gender, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, ability. It's the third time I've given you the definition. The Asians, while being the most productive and financially viable, aren't crying about anything. They aren't accepting anything free. By the numbers, the most privileged race and community in the United States is the black community and the gay community. What's that? No, they're facts. They're actual facts, so don't bring your feelings into this. So where is all of this oppression? Where are all of these rights they claim they don't have? There isn't one damn right I have that a gay or a black American doesn't. The gay people will immediately scream, "What about gay marriage?" Well, kids, marriage isn't a right. It's a privilege. So get your facts straight. Straight. No pun intended. That was totally just, hey, that was awesome. I could do a whole show on how half of this country needs to sit down and start learning the definition of things they claim to be campaigning for. Like when you ask people who campaign for socialism to define it, they don't even know what the fuck they're campaigning for. Marriage is a legal contract. It's not a natural right. It is a social privilege that the government recognizes. If you say differently on a test, you will fail that question because I just gave you the actual fact, the answer. You have the natural right to love whoever you want. You don't have the automatic right to have that union legally endorsed by the state. The government doesn't create marriage. It records it, my friends. And when the government records something, it regulates it. You know, all these people that are so anti-government sure as shit want the government's hand in everything. Make that make sense. So the more you insist marriage is a right, the more power you give to the state to define what it means. And once the government defines it, they can redefine it. Is that what you really want? And let's not forget about interracial marriage, because the gays always forget this part until I call it out. The gays don't give a shit. 100 years ago, an interracial couple couldn't even walk down the streets together, let alone get married. It was literally illegal. It's not illegal to be gay, but it was illegal for a white man and a black woman or a black man and a white woman to be together in a relationship. It was banned up until 1967. Illegal. What's that, gays? I don't hear you saying anything now. I'm in an interracial marriage. I'm married to a Cherokee Indian. So don't even come at me. Don't. Gay people should use their fucking heads and shoot for a legal union. Putting legislation in to offer them a legal union. Like Obama suggested. I'm actually agreeing with him on that. That way, gays can garner the same benefits as marriage. Don't ask for the world to change the definition of an important tradition for straight people. How's that fair for us? Again, you guys don't give a shit. Who the hell do you think you are to think you can change the tradition and symbolism and meaning of something straight people do? Come up with your own thing and define it. We already have ours. But people will still argue. And look, a fact is a fact, kids. I always ask myself, would I get this right on a test if I answered it the way I felt or the way it actually is? Those of you calling marriage a right would fail that question. But it doesn't just stop there with financial, health, and living benefits. The two communities that are most celebrated in this country, by the way. Last week's episode, I covered the gay community and how just the celebration abound, which I don't care. It's just, dude, enough's enough. I do not give a shit who you are with. Why do you got to make it our business? That's very, very narcissistic. So today I'm focusing on the black community. So let's take a look at the black community, which all in itself is counterproductive to the very points that they tried to make. And don't get me wrong, man, I love black people. Dude, I'm telling you, if back in the day when they were fighting for their rights, I'd be right there fucking with them. Because that shit was bull. That was bullshit, man. But every major network has black programming. And has something to represent the black community. The music industry, the film industry, commercial products, workplace ethics, and policies have been forced to change, and so much more. Black people can get jobs now just because they're black versus actually having the skill to do it. I can't do that. I've got to be skilled in what I'm trying to get a job for. Sounds like I'm oppressed. I mean, I don't care. Black-only television, black-only music labels, black-only award shows, black-only films. The black culture and history has an entire month dedicated to them. I just call it fucking American history. Isn't that what it is? Martin Luther King Day, Juneteenth, churches, Emancipation Day, Motown, Afropunk. The list goes on and on. It is so counterproductive to scream from one angle that we all need to be unified and treated equally, and then scream from the other, we have our own shit. It's self-segregation, and that's becoming more and more evident. There is also that huge level of hypocrisy. You yell and scream when a comedian does blackface. It's meant to be funny, guys, But you have no issue with black women styling their hair like white women. We don't take offense to that. It's kind of cool. I think traditions and cultures intermixing is awesome. That's on the right path. But when a white person does something that's generally a black thing, we're racist? That doesn't make any sense to me. But black women can do things with their hair that genetically they can't to make it look like white women. Black person straightens their hair. Why should I be mad about that? Because it's stupid. Now, what about what we call ourselves? This is where we get to the goods today, guys. I personally stand by the fact we are all Americans. I believe there is way too much self-segregation across all cultures. There's a damn community for everything. Why are we choosing to isolate ourselves into separate communities? Last time I checked, our community was America, and we were all human. You are my fellow American. You aren't a black person to me, or an Asian, or a Hispanic, or a gay person. If you are a citizen of this country, you are an American. Full stop. Nobody has to be special. We're just all Americans here, dude, trying to go out there every day and live, right? Why should we be working against each other? To me, and I think this is fair, the only time your race should matter is if and when a description needs to be given to law enforcement, or for legal matters. Period. You got to describe people. You know what I'm saying? It was a black dude, or it was a white dude. It's a dude that looked like a meth head. Some white dude with long hair. You got to do that. That's not racist. That's just describing somebody. I understand culture, and I love other cultures. I love reading about other cultures. And I respect that. I respect culture so much. Loving your own culture is great. Culture should be embraced. We should. We should embrace it. But isolating yourself is counterproductive. Culture is such a huge part of the diversity in this country. And I just think that is awesome. I really do. Aside from what the left and the Democrats want you to believe, we are the most diverse country on the planet. We are allowed to do things nobody else can. Yet we still find time to find problems and complain. I don't get that. But back to this original question. You guys are going to love this. What do we call ourselves? I'm white. My dude down the street is Asian. I joke with him all the time. What's up, Miyagi? Because it's having fun. It's called being friends and busting each other's balls. Calling him Miyagi isn't racist. He thinks it's fucking funny. I got Sanchez around the block. He's Hispanic. His name's not even Sanchez. I call him something different every time I see him. What's up, Gomez? What's up, Rodriguez? What's up, amigo? And he does the same shit to me. It's called being friends, man. But homeboy behind me is African American. Why? Why is he African American? Can anybody answer that for me? The chat's time-stamped, right? You can put that in there. He's black. That's what he is. But he's not African American. He's Black American. I think we need to start breaking that barrier. If you are born here, you are an American, no matter the color or race. And here's where I start to unravel this thing that's going to just blow your mind. African-born Americans make up roughly 0.6% of the total U.S. population. Only 0.6%. That's not even a full percent. They are actual African Americans. The rest of you are Black Americans. It's okay to recognize your heritage, and your ancestors and stuff like that, but you are not an African American. You are a Black American. Or as I suggested earlier, I just love to see it, an American. That's it. Just like me. We're the same. At the beginning of the show, I opened with the stinger. Black people aren't African Americans. And I'm sure if you've lasted this long, you want to know what I'm getting at. And I said a white dude is. Did you know that over 4 million white people have been born in Africa? The vast majority in South Africa. What happens when those white people move to the United States? They become an American, right? Are they African American? They were actually born there. So I'm going to put this in perspective for you. A name you'll recognize, or you should recognize it. A white dude, Dave Matthews, the musician, the front man, of the Dave Matthews Band, was born in Johannesburg, South Africa, January 6, 1967. He has more of a right to refer to himself as African American over the 99.4% of you doing so. He was actually born in Africa, then relocated to the United States, legally I might add, built up his empire of music, great talented guy, got some good material, made a lot of money legally. He is literally the very definition of an African American. So the black people who are born here in the country are Black American. They're not African American. I told you 4 million, what was that? Wasn't that the number? 4 million people? Yeah, 4 million white people are born in Africa. They move here, they have more of a right to call themselves an African American than you do. In fact, they have the right to do that. You don't have it at all. You're just being false. You're pretending. So, can you honestly sit there and tell me that Dave Matthews isn't African American? A man who was born in Africa and then relocated to the United States? But any black man USA who was born here is an African American? Make that make sense for me. Because it doesn't. So what's the big deal? When you break all this down, doesn't it seem rather trivial and asinine to continue these hate campaigns over mistaken belief? Because that's what it is. It's mistaken belief. You've conditioned yourself to believe things that just aren't true. White Americans are not privileged. Asian Americans are the richest. Black Americans are not African. Black Americans and gay Americans receive more benefits from the government than any other race, culture, or sexuality. Black Americans and gay Americans receive more recognition than any other race, culture, or sexuality in this country. So I ask again, who are the privileged ones? Stop looking for reasons to point blame for your inadequacies. Stop searching for a scapegoat of your own lack of drive and desire to succeed. It's not my fault if you aren't out there grinding, man. That's not my fault. Start taking accountability, because if you truly stood behind your race, your beliefs, or your sexuality, you would be doing, everything in your power to represent that culture and lifestyle to the best of your ability, instead of allowing yourself to be a professional victim. Because that's what you are. That's your identity. A professional victim. Now, none of this was being said to make any person in particular feel bad or ashamed. Dude, I want everybody to get along, man. But we have to face these harsh truths in order to find progress. Living lies and denying the truth does nothing. Just look at the left. They refuse to accept fact and therefore haven't seen an inkling of progress from their campaigns. And they never will. Because they live in an alternate reality. They're living in a reality that isn't ours, guys. But don't sit there and let trash like Jasmine Crockett, and let's face it, that's all she is trash. Elite trash fed with a silver spoon that couldn't even begin to understand the struggles you and I have. Is that who you want representing you? I don't think it is. I've met so many intelligent black people, And they are right on board to exactly everything I fucking said today. The best advice I could give you is this. If a politician is agreeing with you, it isn't because they feel for you. It's because they can benefit from you. Say that back again in your head and live by it. At the beginning of this episode, I gave you the factual definition of privilege. It's a term used to define unearned advantages or benefits. So after hearing all of this, which race or sexual orientation is receiving unearned advantages and benefits? And look, I will take a quick second and say this whole SNAP thing really sucks. Kids should not be going hungry. People shouldn't be going hungry in general. But what the Democrats did should not be forgotten. They have let the government shut down for a record amount of days so they could get what they want, and knew people would starve for it. And they still didn't get what they wanted. They literally could have opened it back up in a day, because here we are back at square one. They're going to open the government back up and the Democrats still didn't get what they wanted. So people starved for nothing. Remember that when it comes time to vote, my friends. Put your answer in the comment, my friends. I'd really love to hear everybody's perspective on this based on everything I just said today. I want to hear your opinion. But there's some things I'm going to drop on you here. Please stick around. I do a little segment called Terms of Existence, where I kind of sum up, in a profound way, my own philosophy on things, my personal philosophy. And that's what I want to do here, because we live in a time where division has become a profession, where outrage is manufactured, and where skin color, heritage, and background have been turned into weapons of separation. Beneath the surface of all of our differences runs the same current, the same pulse, the same unmistakable truth. We are not fragments of color scattered across a map. We are Americans. When we stop identifying by what divides us and start embracing what unites us, we rediscover something sacred. The idea that our destiny is shaped not by our circumstances, but by our choices. It's easy to blame others. It's easy to say, I didn't get that job because of them, or I'll never get ahead because of this system. But every time we speak like that, we surrender our power. We give away the one thing that makes us truly free, and that is responsibility. If you're not earning what you wish to earn, ask yourself, what can I do about it? It's a simple question. You got to talk to yourself. Should I learn a new skill? Seek a better opportunity? Should I spend my money wiser? These are reasonable questions to ask why you're in the position that you're in. Real progress doesn't begin in Washington, or in your workplace, or in someone else's approval. It begins in the quiet, uncomfortable space where excuses end and accountability begins. No president is responsible for your problems. No boss can permanently hold you back. God is not to blame for your misfortunes, and no other person can prevent you from achieving what you are capable of. Your life is not a product of politics. People get lost in that. It's a reflection of your priorities. There is no hardship within your control that you cannot influence. I'm not speaking of random tragedy. I'm speaking of the choices, behaviors, and habits that define who you become. The truth is, we often carry burdens we built ourselves, and we hold them long after it's time to let them go. Freedom begins the moment you stop pointing fingers and start looking in the mirror. If you allow others to control your life, guess what? They will. If you depend on handouts, you will always be owned by them. So don't take what you haven't earned. Don't owe anyone your independence. you should never sacrifice your independence at any cost. Give more than you receive. Love more than you are being loved. Learn more than those around you. When you live this way, you rise above the division. You become unshakable, not because life is easy, but because you've learned to stand on your own foundation, not somebody else's. And when you live in accountability, something miraculous happens. You begin to attract others who want to rise too. You begin to see that light for the lost and a mirror for the blind. You teach not by words, but by example. Because the highest form of freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's mastering who you are. So, my fellow Americans, let's stop measuring the worth of a man or a woman by the shade of their skin and start measuring it by the depth of their character, their strength in their choices, and the courage to face truth. Our fulfillment, our success, our happiness, they're all waiting on the other side of that one word, accountability. Let us cross that line together, one as one. One nation under one flag carrying one truth, that we rise or fall not by our race, but by our responsibility. No one sabotages your future faster than the version of you that blames others for your present. The easiest way to fail in life is to keep blaming somebody else for your misfortune. Because the second you do, you hand them the steering wheel to your future. You are no longer the author of your story. You're just a victim, waiting for a rewrite that never comes. People love to say life's unfair, and sure, it is. But fairness isn't owed. It's earned through effort, resilience, and accountability. There's that word I keep using. You can't control every storm, but you can control whether you build a shelter or sit there complaining about the rain. The truth is simple. The moment you stop blaming others is the moment you start changing everything. I can promise you that. Responsibility isn't punishment, it's power, man. And that's something the victim mentality will never understand. That's why the left doesn't ever see any progress. And here's the irony. The people who scream the loudest about privilege are often the ones swimming in it. They have the privilege in the country where free speech is protected, opportunity exists in abundance, and where self-pity has somehow become fashionable. They have the privilege of pointing fingers instead of putting in the effort. The privilege of outrage without outcome. They call everyone else privileged because it's easier than admitting they've wasted their own. Real privilege isn't about what you're given. It's about what you do with what you have. Discipline is a privilege. Freedom is a privilege. Accountability is a privilege. The truth is, the loudest critics of privilege are often the ones most comfortable in theirs. The privilege of excuses. Because excuses cost nothing, and effort costs everything. And that's why so many people choose to blame overgrowth. So here's your wake-up call. Privilege isn't the reason someone else succeeded. Accountability is. And if that truth offends you, maybe it's because it just exposed the one privilege you've been abusing the most. The privilege of not trying. Take care, my friends. I am Stephen Lancaster, and you've been watching Facts Me. This is the place where we educate, not fabricate. Stay humble, my factivists. Walk with love, and of course, the power of God. I'll be talking to you soon.